Morning peeps, good morning everyone. How's everyone doing? Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Don't forget, if you're new to the channel, like, share, subscribe. I think we've all been, or at least I've been, trying to find out who this new AJ trainer is. AJ only mentioned him by his first name at the Jake Paul press conference. AJ said his name is Igor. And I think we're all like, who's that? That is most certainly not Alexander Usyk's head trainer. I will say this about Usyk. Every time he goes deep into fight camp, yes, he has his head trainer, but it's almost like the Avengers being assembled and so many trainers jump on board. Anyway, someone on Instagram has sent me who this Igor is. I'm on his Instagram page now, and his name is Igor Golub. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. He's got his accolades in his bio as coach. He said he's won the WBO lightweight title. That would have been Denis Berenchik, Ukrainian. WBC silver bridgerweight title. I'm not quite sure who has that belt. And the EBU lightweight title. And he's obviously got quite a few pictures with Alexander Usyk. And he's a big, big, big football fan. So I'm guessing this is the Igor that will be training AJ going forward. At least we hope for the next 2 or 3 fights. Yeah. So Igor Golub is his name, and he is most certainly part of the Alexander Usyk camp. So that's it. We can all sort of put our Detective Columbo hats away. It is Igor Golub if you care. I do, and I'm sure a lot of you do as well. All right, let's have a look and see what there is to talk about before we talk about Mr. Anthony Yarde. Ben Whittaker tells Benjamin Gavazzi, "You'll see how special I am." Yeah, I head up to Birmingham tomorrow for that one. Obviously, Ben's first fight with Matchroom. I was going to say his first fight with DAZN, but the Liam Cameron first fight was on DAZN. So he's fought on DAZN before, but this is his first fight with Matchroom. And look, because they went so big, obviously that fantastic Jerry Maguire promo video, he has to look special. So there is a lot of pressure on Ben Whittaker to not just coast to a 10 or 12 round decision, but to look as good as he did early in his career. Obviously, once the levels go up, it's going to be quite difficult to replicate some of those performances. But ultimately, we got excited about Ben because of those performances. I thought he looked really good in the second Liam Cameron fight. It looks like he's sitting on his shots a bit more under Andy Lee. This will be the second fight camp with Andy as well. So hopefully we can see more of him being a bit spiteful as opposed to, and I love it, the showboating. I love the showboating. I'm not against that at all. I grew up a massive Prince Naseem Hamed fan. That was because of the showboating. But what Prince Naseem Hamed did as well is that he sat on those shots. And when he wanted to hurt you, you were hurt. So yes, he kind of had the showboating, but then he also mixed that in with precision and violence. And that's the kind of, I guess that's what Ben needs to find. And hopefully we see a bit of that on Saturday. But yeah, I expect him to get the job done. And then look, I mean, once he gets the job done, what I really, really want Matchroom to do is focus on the domestic scene. Yes, we can get those guys in from Europe and they can kind of avoid the domestic scene and go straight to kind of fringe world level. I don't want that. I think there is perfect matchmaking here. There really is. I think I might have said this already, but I mean, surely Ben Whittaker will be looking at the winner of Hutchinson versus Ezra Taylor. Surely he's looking at the winner of Dan Aziz versus Craig Richards. Surely he should have one eye on the European champion, Lyndon Arthur. And then, you know, if he can get through that lot, which isn't easy, then you have to look at Yarde and Buatsi. So domestically, he's got so many fights that can get him to world level without jumping the domestic scene. Because you clearly have British level guys, European level guys, and fringe world level guys. So hopefully that's what they do. All right, let's talk about Anthony Yarde. I'm so happy that I'm doing this video a few days after the fight as opposed to doing it immediately after the fight, because I think I would have jumped to 101 different conclusions about what next for Anthony Yarde. I can now take stock. I've watched a few people's videos. I've heard from the big man himself. And now I think I can give like a proper definitive answer as to what next. Firstly, yes, he 100% should continue. I am the man that always says, get in, get rich, get out. And he's done that, but I still think there is something left in the tank with Anthony Yarde. Will he become a world champion? Probably not, if I'm brutally honest. What is Yarde now? 34, 35? And I mean, I know Benavidez is going to cruiserweight, but I think Benavidez will come back down and probably rule this division for a long time. I mean, could there be belts that get vacated and thrown all over the place? Yes, but Bivol's still young-ish, right? Bivol's the same age as Yarde. Bivol's not taking much punishment, so I can feel like, or I can see Bivol being around for a couple more years at least. So it's going to be very difficult to knock off Bivol and Benavidez. In fact, it's going to be nigh impossible to knock off those two. So I think he'll become world champion? Probably not. No shame in that. Let's have some domestic fights now. Let's do this. Let's have some domestic fights and let's give us the Buatsi one. Is it as big as it once was? No. Could they somehow grow it into something? Yes. But is it the fight that I thought would have filled the O2 Arena quite comfortably 4 or 5 years ago? No, it ain't that anymore. Buatsi's last performance didn't help, and obviously Yarde has just been beaten by Benavidez, and he didn't look great in that defeat. It wasn't like the Opetaia fight where you feel like, okay, Yarde's stock still so high. His stock has dropped somewhat, and Buatsi's stock has dropped somewhat as well. So maybe they don't give it to us straight away. Maybe they both have a fight and then give it to us, but that fight is still very, very much there. Zach Parker fight is very, very much there. Again, I just mentioned Ben Whittaker. That fight is very, very much there. So there are fights there. And look, could he potentially get a Callum Smith fight, a David Morrell fight, Kataev? There are fights out there, just not fights, I don't think, that lead him to another world title shot. He's had 3 against 3 killers, to be honest with you, but he's come up short 3 times. He's been stopped in all 3 of those fights as well, which is something that also needs to be added to this. It wasn't like, it was a tight points decision. He was stopped in Russia, obviously stopped against Opetaia, and now stopped against Benavidez. I think the biggest takeaway or talking point has been Tunde. That's been the thing where everyone has said, leave Tunde, should have left Tunde. I'll be frank with you. Even if he was trained by, trainer of the year last year was Robert Garcia, right? I mean, who's got Virgil T, he's got Bam, 2 of the hottest prospects in world boxing, 2 of the hottest talents in world boxing. Even if he was trained by Robert Garcia, he's not beaten Opetaia and he's not beaten Benavidez. Some might say he could have caused Kovalev problems. I don't know about that either. So I don't know what a change of trainer could bring about. Like, Yarde is what Yarde is. He's someone that I think's almost overachieved considering how late he came into the sport and the amount of amateur fights he had. I think they've navigated him quite well. Ultimately, he's had some big fights, he's made some good money, and that's kind of what your manager / trainer is supposed to do, or at least your manager. Tunde's his manager as well. One thing I will say, and by the way, he's not going to leave Tunde. So I could get into the, should he leave, he won't leave Tunde. Their loyalty is a bit more than just boxing. Those two are, I was going to say father-son, but it's more than, because of how close they are in age, it's just a tight friendship now. One thing Tunde could do is bring someone on board, which might rock the boat a little bit. I'm trying to think of when AJ added a couple of people, Joby Clayton and Angel Fernandez, to Rob McCracken. I think it rocked the boat. But Tunde could do that, and Tunde has tried that. Let's not forget, James Cook was brought on board. Obviously, James Cook passed away. So maybe there is an argument to bring someone on board. But I also think that again, what's he, 35 Yarde? He is what he is. I don't think you're going to change that. I think you just drop a level down and see if you can beat up those guys. I don't know if you change that. I would like to see him fight the winner of Aziz Craig Richards. There are fun fights domestically for him to have, and that's something they haven't done. And that's something they should do. We want to see Yarde in fun domestic fights. We've seen him in one domestic fight, and that was a trilogy. And that, the third fight, was very, very, very close. So I think Yarde should drop down a level and do what he should have always done, which is have good domestic fights. The issue with Yarde, and I think everyone points it, is that we do see him have these really tough fights, and then the level drop is massive. And I think that's been the issue. I think what people want is to see tough fights, you lose. Don't go that far down. Like, don't go here, go here. And we haven't seen that with Yarde. But look, I'm a big fan of Anthony Yarde. Did I want to see him do way more better against BENAVIDEZ? Yes. Do I think Yarde will kick himself for maybe showing BENAVIDEZ a bit too much respect? Yes, I do. Like, Yarde is a big, strong, powerful puncher. And there are times when I just want to see him fucking throw with the meanest of intentions. The meanest. And sometimes he doesn't do that. And I don't know if that's... Sometimes I do wonder if it's down to the pad work, you know. I'm not no boxing aficionado. I've never held pads. I don't know the benefit of the pitty patter stuff as opposed to the... Do you know? So sometimes I do wonder if that's an issue. Because I look at all those guys that were in the Kronk gym. Like when you go back and watch Gerald McClellan, go and type on YouTube, Gerald McClellan hitting pads with Emmanuel Stewart. Dude, I'm not joking. It sounds like someone's fucking like shooting. It's like a gun going off. And that's how Gerald McClellan used to fight. He used to fight where it's like, I'm trying to take your head off with every shot. And I do think we've kind of held Yarde back a bit from really showing how powerful he is because of that pad work. I don't know, but sometimes it comes to my head. But look, I still think Yarde's got something left. He's had a couple of punishing fights, but only a couple. And seeing him do interviews in the immediate aftermath and the next day, he seems okay. He seems obviously disappointed. But again, I don't necessarily think it's a trainer thing because I genuinely believe any trainer he gets, he ain't getting through BENAVIDEZ. Any trainer he gets, he ain't getting through Beterbiev. Kovalev's the only one. But again, mistakes were made in that corner. I think even Tunde can admit that. All right. What else is there to talk about? Let's have a quick look. 2 secs. Abdullah Mason, this title is the door opener for bigger things to come. He's in a good division. He's in a very good division. I mean, Floyd Schofield seems to be the obvious fight. With Shakur going up as well. It could be an open division. Like, we don't know what Gervonta's doing. Shakur looks like he's going to fight Teofimo Lopez. Will he come back down, win or lose? So there could be a division to kind of, you know, to eat. Like, he could be the ruler of that division in the next sort of 12 to 18 months. Lewis Crocker could make first title defense back at Windsor Park. I wonder who he fights. Let me have a look at the IBF welterweight rankings because there was talk about Liam Parrow, but obviously Paddy Donovan's going to Australia to fight Liam Parrow. See if I can get the rankings up. Be interesting to see. Like Windsor Park, I mean, you know, it's not a small stadium to fill, is it? All right. So the number 1 position is vacant. Number 2 is Parrow. Number 3 is Donovan. They're fighting each other. The next guy is Rodriguez. I mean, I mean, he could literally pick anyone from the top 15. Not many. I mean, Cattrall's there, potentially. McCormack's ranked number 15. It isn't going to be McCormack. And then it's just Alexis Rocha's number 7. I'm a big fan of Rocha. Ain't that much in the division, you know. There ain't that much in the division. By the way, I have no idea how that works where if you're Paddy Donovan and you've just got beaten, why don't you, how does it not, I'd love to know this system. I'd like to speak to someone like an official at the IBF. Like, I like Paddy Donovan, by the way. I actually thought he won the fight, but how do you not drop further down if you're coming off back-to-back defeats or a disqualification and a defeat? How do you not go further down than number 3? Weird how it works. All right, anything else? Kind of think that is it. Yeah, people, that is it. We are done. Opetaia. I'm going to do a whole separate video on Opetaia. I don't know what's going on. Like this Hussein Sin Cara, no disrespect. Like these fights are just not, they're just not doing it for me. They're not doing it for me. And look, I think Jai has everything to be in the pound for pound top 10 discussion the next 12 months. But we need to see him in with fights that people care about. These mandatory fights are just, maybe because the fights are in Australia, I don't know, but look, we'll do a separate video on the great, and he is the great Opetaia. Peace.